understand the reason for the sudden wave of loneliness. Just knew that it was there. Or that something that felt a hell of a lot like loneliness was there, which was probably just fatigue more than anything. He'd been putting in long hours at the gym, as well as working his regular shifts as a bodyguard. And even if he was lonely, it was just the way things had to be right now. "When?" someone from the crowd called out. Colt flashed a smile, taking his eyes away from Taylor for only a second. "We went to Vegas last weekend." "You guys are crazy!" Chloe Carmichael, another friend of Sierra and Taylor, called out, and everyone laughed. Taylor and Colt looked at each other, wordless communication passing between them in a way that had that damn wet blanket pressing harder around Zack's shoulders. "When you know," said Taylor, and Colt slipped his arms around her waist, pulling her in for another kiss. Everyone cheered again and the party resumed, guests moving toward Taylor and Colt to congratulate them. Zack grabbed a napkin from a nearby table and wiped his hands and mouth, waiting until the initial rush died off before making his way toward them. Despite the hard knot sitting in the center of his chest at the sight of Taylor smiling wide and practically vibrating with happiness, he couldn't help but return her smile. He'd hurt her when they'd broken up because he hadn't been able to give her what she'd needed, what she'd deserved. Zack wasn't at a place in his life where he could be that man for anyone, and he'd been stupid to get involved with Taylor in the first place. The guilt over how things had gone down between them still ate at him, but seeing her so happy, with a man who clearly adored her, helped take some of the bite out of it. Zack shoved one hand into his pocket, holding his beer with the other. "You guys are nuts." Something tugged in his chest when he noticed the matching ink, Roman numerals, probably their wedding date, on Taylor's and Colt's inner left wrists. Colt tipped his head and shrugged, smiling. "Pretty much." Zack clinked his beer bottle against the ex-Army Rangers. "Congrats, man. Seriously." He stepped forward and pulled Taylor in for a brief hug. "I'm really happy for you, Taylor." She pulled back and her eyes, so full of happiness, met his. She rested a hand on his cheek and smiled warmly at him. "I know you are." Tipping his head at the happy couple, Zack moved out of the way so other guests could talk to them, and he sank down onto the couch beside his boss. Sean sat with his long legs extended in front of him, a beer in one hand. Zack glanced back at Taylor and Colt, not really wanting to untangle the knot of emotion their announcement had lodged in the center of his chest. He didn't feel like pulling at its threads tonight. He was too damn tired. "I can't believe they got married. They've known each other, what, a month?" Sean nodded and took a sip of his beer. "Something like that." He glanced at Zack, one eyebrow raised. "It bother you?" "Nah, I'm happy for her as long as she's happy." "Does it bother you?" Zack asked. There had been tension between Sean and Colt in the past, but it seemed to be resolved now. A couple of years ago, Colt had worked for Virtus, and he'd ended up getting himself fired, and it had been Sean who'd done the firing. Now Colt was back in Sean's good graces and was once again working for Virtus. Given that Taylor and Sierra were best friends, and given Sean's natural inclination to protect everyone around him, Zack had to wonder how Sean felt about Colt and Taylor together. Not just together. Married. Sean tilted his head, considering. "I'm surprised, but no. It doesn't bother me." He took a sip of his beer. "Besides, Priestley knows I'll hurt him badly if he fucks this up." Zack didn't doubt it, and as Sean's eyes tracked Sierra as she moved through the party, Zack couldn't help but wonder what it would feel like to be so much for someone. Protective and possessive and everything that went along with it. It wasn't that he didn't care about the safety of his clients, because he definitely did. But there was a clear line where the job ended and his personal life started. Yeah, he'd had some clients come on to him. Some of the other guys on the team referred to it as the Costner effect. But he'd never been tempted. The music got louder, and several guests under Sierra's direction started moving furniture out of the way, making room for an impromptu dance floor. Zack nodded at Sean before making his way back to the kitchen for more pizza. As he passed by the foyer again, the front door opened, and Alexa Fairfax, another friend of Sierra and Taylor, stepped in, shutting it quietly behind her. His steps slowed as he watched her. God, Alexa. So fucking pretty. So damn sweet. Truth be told, she'd been the one he'd first noticed when he'd met Sierra's group of friends over a year ago now.